do. I'm just adding our next panel to the stage, and this is a really interesting topic because what we're talking about here is our contingent workforce. And I've worked in organisations with very large contingent workforces. In fact, one of the organisations I work for, there is a TA representation, the TA lead from that organisation here. And it's one of those, I guess, one of those communities within our workplaces that often gets overlooked. And I think this is a really important discussion for us to be having today. So we're joined by Matt Leake from AIA Australia, Deb Jackson from Transurban, and we're joined by Vicki and Miriam from CXC. And what we're talking about here is what is the best talent acquisition strategy for our contingent workforce. So welcome to the panel. I'm going to jump off and I'm going to hand over to you. So great to see all four of you today.
Thanks, Eden. So nice to be here today. Thanks for having us. So hi, everyone. I'm Vicki Carolan and I'm Head of Talent Solutions at CXC. I've been working in the workforce management industry since 2002, designing and implementing contingent workforce programs, but also talent management programs for organisations around their contingent workforce, primarily working with large corporate customers. And I'm joined by my colleague Miriam today, my partner in crime. Miriam's our MSP talent guru, and she is responsible for overseeing our talent management programs as they're being delivered within our clients. She ensures that the relationship and the solutions that we have with our clients are, running smoothly. She sits in between the external and internal teams, making sure that we've got the right supply chain in place, we've got the right direct sourcing strategies in place, and also making sure that the tech sort of supports what we're doing. And today, we're really excited to be bringing to you a topic. As Eden said, it's often a workforce that's overlooked. We're going to be talking about what the best talent acquisition strategy is for your contingent workforce. So CXC's been working in the contingent workforce management space for more than 30 years now. We've been supporting really large-scale contingent programs. We've developed some great intel over this time to strategically support organisations with their internal contingent talent programs. So whether it's a full suite solution or whether it's just compartmentalised and different aspects of the recruitment process, we're in a good position to help organisations navigate through the complexities of talent acquisition with their contingent workforce and really work on bringing high-performing workforce, a workforce that helps drive organisations and their business outcomes. So as Eden said, we are joined by two of our wonderful clients, Matt Leake and Deb Jackson. Matt is the head of talent acquisition at AIA, and he has over 16 years experience in the recruitment and talent acquisition industry in both internal leadership and management positions. We're going to speak to Matt shortly, but I'm going to hand over to Miriam, who will introduce Deb.
Thanks, Vicki. So I'm so excited to be here and really excited to be having this conversation with Deb today. So Deb, for those that don't know her, although I'm not sure how many that will be, she is such an experienced HR professional. She's got a demonstrated history of providing strategic recruitment, HR transformation solutions to some of Australia's leading companies. She's got so much expertise in implementing outsourced plus insourced recruitment functions. And so she really offers a unique perspective on today's market. So with her really strong background, Deb is currently the head of talent acquisition at Transurban. And that's a role where she plays a really key part in driving the company's recruitment and workforce management strategies. So welcome, Deb.
Thanks, Miriam.
So, Deb, we have been working with TU, Transurban now, since around 2018. Can you tell me a little bit more about the process that you went through, I guess, to decide on what the best contingent TA solution was for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's been an interesting ride, and I've got obviously experience in working with CMOs for a couple of different scenarios with having implemented them in two previous organisations. So when I came to Transurban, I saw all the same issues. So it was really a no-brainer. I mean, we really needed to have a look at how we were going to solve all of those complex contingent recruitment issues. So putting in a CMO was one of the first things that I knew we absolutely had to do. But then, look, it's been an iterative process, and the business has got to be ready. So we were actually having my team do a lot of the sourcing of contingent recruitment candidates. But, I think over the last couple of years, especially, when, the partnership with CXC has grown and grown, we've been able to see a lot of value that CXC has been able to provide us, recruitment on demand services when we just didn't have enough capacity in the team. That's happened a few times. And look, I was always wanting to put in an MSP. I mean, it made sense from the very beginning. But, it had to be the right time for us. And so as part of our transformation of TA over the last sort of 18 months, we finally said, okay, we've got to do it. CXC was, it was never actually a consideration of going anywhere else because of the partnership that we had with CXC and what they'd been able to deliver with us, especially with that recruitment on demand. So we then moved forward and put in the MSP process. So it's been iterative, but a great journey to date.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And I guess just to delve a little bit more into some of those challenges that you had in the business before before the solution was implemented, what did they look like?
Look, and I would expect everybody out there that has contingent recruitment has seen all of these issues. So we had no visibility of our contingent workforce. We had multiple agencies that were actually providing payrolling and managing this workforce. We had no way to go to all of that workforce in one time to communicate with them. And obviously we had, all of the different risks that come along with, in the ever-changing legislative landscape. So, it was being able to get CXC in to help us with that, really just solved so many of those problems.
Yeah. And so obviously, as you said, and we've said we've been working together for a while, but how, when you decided that you were going to, extend the service of CXC, how did you find the implementation went of that?
I can't believe how smooth it was. It really is. It's so interesting. And it was a 6-week process, and it really went so smoothly. It was, the CXC just managed to do most of it in the background, obviously got us involved in making sure that it was all correct. But no, it was really very, very easy and quick, and, probably one of the best implementations that I've been a part of.
Oh, making me blush, Dad. And so finally, I guess, what are some of the key benefits that you've been really seeing from this extended program with CXC?
Yeah, and look, and I think that's probably, I've actually even seen more than I even expected. So it's been wonderful. Obviously, when you came in and looking at that, the streamlining of our processes, I thought they were actually not bad to start with, but you've been able to provide even more benefits to us, which has actually saved time for not just my team, but our P&C operations team. So that's worked really well. Obviously, we've had cost savings. We've been able to start talent pooling, contingent candidates, which we haven't been able to do before. So look, obviously reduction in the administration, supplier management. We don't have to deal with the agencies for that contingent space. So, it really has saved us a lot of time and just really streamlined the whole process.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Deb. I mean, obviously, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. I get to do it most days. But, you know, just to hear a bit more about our story, I guess, together as we've worked through. So I will hand on over back to you, Vicki, and over to you and Matt.
Thanks, Miriam. Hey, Matt.
Good
How
morning.
you going?
Very well.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Always love chatting with you. So we've been working with AIA for quite some time now, and we've seen, I guess, the internal TA function change a little bit when it comes to contingent sourcing, and you now have an RPO in place. So I guess I wanted to understand a little bit more about what process you went through to decide on what the best solution or program or delivery model was for AIA, and what sort of the process was you went through for your business.
No problem. I think one of the most commonly used terms is back to basics, that I'm sure a lot of talent professionals would use on a daily, weekly basis. But I think the journey that we have had and still have is essentially ensuring that we have the foundations in place, so that when we actually go to market and look at a sourcing strategy for contingent labor or contractors, is that we actually have process in place, a solution in place, and we understand what is required to go and source to bring into the business, into certain programs, into certain streams that will have the best outcome for the business, and that we actually go and find the most appropriate resource. So I think for us, it's still new. We're actually 1 year today from launching the RPO, so it's the 1 year anniversary. And just to set the scene very,
isn't it?
I know it is. There's balloons everywhere. No. But I think it's really understanding what we have and how can we improve that, which then feeds into the recruitment team, which is great. So just to quickly set the scene, the RPO model that we've implemented covers all of permanent, fixed term, and individual contractor solution. So to set up the recruitment team for success, we had to actually dig down into right at the start. And for us, you know, understanding the current existing contingent resources within the business was step one, and it was step one. We have set up a monthly review of all existing contractors within all of the different projects, in line with all the program heads of each of the departments with the streams, which actually allows us to understand where they are, what it is they're doing. You know, when it comes to sort of end dates of contingent labour, start dates, before we actually go to market, let's actually look at what we currently have, because we all find in different businesses that, you know, people will be rolling off at some point or finishing a certain stream. If they've garnered some great IP within the role for their contract length, or they understand how the different business units interact, and they've got some great skill sets for other programs in the business, why wouldn't we start there and look at that? So that's what we've done, which is working well so far. So we review all of the programs across the business. We then look at, with the heads, all of the contingent costings that they have in place, and make sure there's funding available. I think we've all probably in different roles. We go to market, we start discussing contractors, and then realize that there's no funding, or the business currently cuts funding, and that's a bad candidate experience, and it's a bad look on the business. So we do our best now with the due diligence to really dig down into, have we got the sign off? Do we need resource? And what type of resource do we actually need? So we're doing all of that review first, which is then putting in the foundation blocks for moving forward to the sourcing.
Yeah, I love how thorough you've gone into this process. You've really digged into every single stream and understood what the overall impact is going to be. So I think that's such an important part of the process. So can you talk me through like what some of the business challenges were before you implemented the strategy that you've got in place now?
Respectfully, many.
And be careful.
And that's okay, and that's absolutely fine, because you're here to keep taking small leaps forward, and you know, no one expects a big bang and improvement overnight. But I think if you're having the right questions and you're having the right conversations to explain why we're doing things or why we want certain information with a business, you actually find that most leaders and most people get it. So what we had, a number of key challenges that we had CXC in place before the RPO went live, which worked really well, and you guys provide a great service for onboarding our contractors. I think what we didn't have is hiring leads not knowing where to go for an actual resource. So process steps, very simply mapping out the journey of hiring or looking to hire a contingent resource, and putting those processes in place so they have a contact person, but also a system to go through, so that it's not dependent and not single point dependencies on that, and some education around it. So we've remapped out all the educational pieces for them, and it just gives leaders a lot more certainty and knowledge. So we started there. So that was a challenge, and it's been a big challenge for changing comms across the business in the last 12 months. Cost control. The old saying goes, if you give a lead a blank piece of paper, they will fill it with all the resources in the world that they may want. But actually, are they required? Are those resources required? So very much a cost control. I think to Dev's point before, we probably had a similar challenge with many agencies sending through lots of different contractors. We've cut that right down. So we've put an RPO in, and we have a small sub panel of agencies now that can provide resources as and when we need. We do direct sourcing as well now, and we also then rely on our partners for extra resource when needed for certain unique skills that we can't find, and making sure we get the resource that's required for that particular piece of work. So I think many challenges for us, and we're still going through them. But I think as this maturity journey goes out, it's allowing us now to be quicker and more efficient in going to find the appropriate talent, and making sure that the business, the journey for the business leaders with CXC, to make sure there's a really clear understanding of what we're doing when we want it, and how we would like it, is there. And we also then brought in a, which I'll touch on shortly, a contingent management specialist that actually owns a relationship internally with the contractors and the leads, to make sure that there's all three areas talking, from a lead to a contractor to CXC, and that was a big challenge for us. Often contractors were finding that they were sort of didn't know where to go to or talk to within the AIA, just with CXC. So now we've tightened that up, which is a big challenge for us, but it's working well.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that this has been, in the years that I've been working in this space, the biggest challenge has always been who owns the contingent, workforce, who is it, what area of the business has the level of ownership. And that centralized point of contact really helps, because there's obviously so many complexities when it comes to contingent workers. So having that key contact, I think, is just such a crucial role in a business, particularly where there's a high volume of hiring like there is at AIA. So I guess now that you've got the solution implemented and you've gone through the discovery process and understood what, all of those challenges were, what are the key benefits that you're seeing as a part of your talent acquisition program?
I'm conscious of time, because I could talk all day, and there's still many challenges ahead. But
we
I'll
can
try
chat
and
after this as well.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short and sweet. But I think for us, we have essentially three different types of resources, from vendors to statement of work to individual contractors. Now, my team and the recruitment space, we recruit all of the individual contractors. The business still recruits their vendors and statement of work, which is quite common practice and quite fair. But I think for us, when we have these conversations with the heads, we can identify if it is an individual contingent resource needed. That's great. So it gives us route one. We're going down that path with the team, which is fantastic. So that's good. I think for us, having the process identified and really clear and streamlined now from start to finish, the efficiency benefits of actually onboarding and finding a resource have been cut down significantly. But I think also the accuracy of recruitment in market, we all talk about it in TA, is when we go to market, do we know what we actually want to go and source? Are we clear with the candidate population, which I think is really important, so that everyone can make correct or as correct and informed decisions as possible? And we've really found benefits in the last 12 months in that. We also have a really energized a team of people now that know that when the brief comes through, it's been through good conversations already. So the briefing is actually a lot more straightforward for the team, which is great. We've actually refreshed all of the advertising when we directly source now. We make sure that CXC from a partner perspective is really front and center for us, and all of the benefits that candidates get through going through the CXC process, to make sure they know that the CXC position, the AIA position, and obviously then starting them from day one, really clear. So again, this is all quite, I guess, normal, but the maturity curve that we're going on it required that, and we're seeing some great benefits. I've talked about skills and IP before. We've really aligned now some of the internal moves. We're really finding rather than going just to market externally every single time, and often replacing with people that we may have had internally, we're finding some great benefits on that. And again, the efficiency and time is significantly saved, which I think has been a great one for us. We're now talent pooling ourselves for contingent, because we've got the certainty that we can, and that we are making sure the messaging and the comms with the candidate community is bolstered, and we've still got some great work to do on that. And it also means that now that we have a very small external panel of suppliers, we can actually engage them to make sure they know as much about our business as possible. I think with any internal team that we have, it's great, and they obviously know the branding and the market in place, but actually partners often don't, and they're often give them a brief and expect miracles, and I think that's not where we're going with this partnership for our suppliers. Any supplier, it's making sure they're armed with as much information about our business, so they're an extension of our arm and our brand, not just a third party. So that's good.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it just makes, as a supplier, I think that makes it so much easier to find the best talent for you as well. And that efficiency that you were talking about before in the hiring process cuts down the time, obviously. It means you're hitting the market quicker, and in such a tight market, such an important aspect of the process. So I guess the key thing, I guess, or the next question is, we were already implemented as the CMO solution. So how did we integrate as a CMO with your chosen model?
Actually, very smoothly. I'll tell you what we did do is have a lot of conversations with CXC, with you guys, around how do you feel this may work? What are your learnings pre-RPO on the journey of the candidate experience? Because until we get feedback and understand where we can improve, what we didn't want to do was change what is working, actually. So lots of good conversations, and certainly identified, one of the areas and gaps that I've touched on is when we hire people, who then does what, to ensure we've got a smooth communication line. We've got candidates that are coming in and we treat everyone coming in, whether it's contractor, fixed term, or permanent employees. We want to treat everyone the same and give them the same onboarding experience, and give them the same information. So that's what we've done. We've made sure that the path is really clear. They have a point of contact. They receive all the information correctly, and just tightening up that overall piece from sourcing through to engagement, from onboarding through to day one and the journey across. That was certainly a key gap for us, and we really use CXC. Our service is different to the Transurban one. We use CXC for essentially for payrolling. The service is what you offer. But I've always said this: regardless of the service that you have with a supplier, you want to make sure that the service is as good as possible. And the positivity around that is fabulous for us. And we really engage with CXC, and CXC really engage with us, to make sure we've got all the insights, the data, the reporting, the information at our fingertips, which is really making us and making our journey for the contingent workforce hopefully a good one. And it means no delays, and it's a very tight market, especially when it's a tight talent market. We want to make sure that it's done as efficiently and clearly as possible, and give people a great sense that we're a great place to work.
Yeah, that's awesome, Matt. And I'm super passionate about the contingent workforce. Having worked in the industry for so long. So I love that there's such a great emphasis on supporting contingent workers and in putting in a program that really continues to help them, I guess, be engaged and motivated and have all the key benefits that a permanent worker would have as well. So we've got a few minutes, and I can see somebody's thrown a question, so I thought I'd throw it to the panel. Should contingent workforce be managed by TA, HR, or procurement? Any thoughts?
I'm happy to quickly.
Deb's gone off mute.
Please. Look, I can quickly. I think.
Yeah, go.
I think there isn't one answer. I think it all depends on your business needs and the way you're set up. The last thing you want to do is completely change the world overnight. I think, landing any changes of process to a business has to be done at times delicately and very clearly communicated, and the reason why you're doing it. I think for us, procurement play a key part when it comes to MSAs and vendor relationships. I think for recruitment and essentially HR is where we sit. We look at the path of individual contractor, and I've touched on how we get to that loop depending on the business requirements previously. So I think there isn't, for me anyway, there isn't one solution or one answer, but I think when you're clear in the resource that you want to hire and you've set out the path that hires, that you follow that path through.
What do you think, Deb?
Look, it really does depend on what type of contingent worker we're talking about. It really makes a lot of sense for us, where we call them our position managed contingent workers within Transurban, and it makes a lot of sense for them to be sourced through the TA and then managed by CXC. Obviously, your true statement of work can be actually looked at separately, but certainly I believe that what we call our position managed really has to come through TA.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you guys for being with us today and discussing this topic. And I think it was a great session hearing about the different models. I think one of the things that's sort of been highlighted is it really does depend on your business needs and the strategy you want to implement, but contingent workers do need to be given that same level of consideration as permanent workers. It is a large workforce, a growing workforce. So I really appreciate your time today, Deb and Matt, and sharing your stories.
My pleasure.
Over to you, Eden.
I'll echo that. Thank you so much. And so wonderful to hear the perspectives from both Matt at AIA and Deb from Transurban. And I think you're absolutely right that Vicki needs a different per organisation, but it was so wonderful to hear how you've approached this. And it is, like I said at the start, a community within our workforce that can be overlooked. And it's just so wonderful and refreshing to hear how well you're doing it at Transurban and AIA, and how you have had that, I suppose, powered by CXC. So I'm a big CXC fan as well, as everyone knows. Details of CXC are available on the Rubberband website. Vicki and Miriam are always up for a chinwag, so do reach out on LinkedIn as well. Always up for it. And I've even had one on the podcast with Miriam, so give that a listen too. She's got an amazing career story. So look, thank you so much, Team CXC. It was so wonderful to see you today.
Thanks, Eden.
Pleasure.